Welcome back to another episode of Hashtag Global Grads. We're so excited to have everyone back today. I'm your host, Liam Clifford.
I'm your co-host, Nikol Posnov.
And I'm your other co-host, Rhys Paterson.
And today we have Karina Martinez, a master's student in the Earth Science Department here at Western. Karina, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. Thank you for coming on. We normally start by asking a bit about the student. So who you are, where you come from, and what brings you to Western to study.
Yeah, well, I'm from Mexico. It's the north center part of Mexico. I'm here to study tsunamis, basically, so I'm doing a master's in geophysics.
Cool. Who is your supervisor?
Katsugoda.
Cool. Why tsunamis?
Well, it's kind of like a dream of mine. When I was a kid, that 2004 Sumatra tsunami happened, and I was really intrigued by it. So basically, everything that I've done, it's like for this moment where I can study tsunamis.
And what in particular about tsunamis are you looking at? So are you looking about how they're caused, or what sort of aspect of it are you approaching it with?
What we do is tsunami hazard analysis. So it's basically seeing the runoff, which is the inundation and everything, and the hazard to the region. If a earthquake of certain magnitude would happen, what size the tsunami would be, and like how much damage would it cause to that region.
Cool. And so why did you decide to come to Western for this?
It's not a lot of people do that, let's say in Canada. So Katsu gave me the opportunity to work with him, and he's a really known researcher in that like part of science. So I'm really lucky to work with him.
What was the other options? Like, where else would they study tsunamis?
Well, it's in Canada, since I was looking also into studying geology. Not so much tsunamis, but Katsu caught my eye by like the amount of research he does. And other options would be going elsewhere. There was an option too in Texas A&M in the US, but I chose this instead.
I think you made a good choice. Canada is a better call than going to the States.
Yeah. And it's also, let's say, cheaper too.
So what was your first impressions of Canada?
Well, I guess since I'm from a part of Mexico that it's so close to the US, I came here kind of having that thought that it might be similar to the US, but not so much. I think you guys are friendlier than over there too. And well, at first it wasn't that hard, but then being here on my own, it's like taking a toll on me.
How long have you been in Canada?
A year now.
And had you visited Canada previously to your stay at Western?
Yes, I was actually in 2009. I was here for a month studying English when I was 14, I believe. And before that, the second time I came here with my family for a week only, but nothing like really living here.
Yeah, so now you're experiencing Canadian winters.
Yes.
How cold it gets.
Yeah.
Do you like the cold, or are you more of a tropical warm place person?
I do like the cold, but I don't like the snow.
Really? I'm surprised by that. For me personally, I feel like if it's cold, there better be snow, because it's like I hate the gloomy like weather. Like if it's gonna be like in the negatives, might as well have some snow and be pretty. But I don't know, that's just my opinion.
I just don't like snow boots and having to take like so much layers off when you get home or to school. I think that's my biggest problem.
That's
It's
been ingrained in us since we were children, when we were kids going out to play recess, and you get up in your snow pants and your snow boots, and then you got your jacket and the hats and the mitts. It's typical Canadian.
Definitely got a lot better since though. Now that we don't have to put on like snow pants every time we go out like 3 times for recess.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's certainly interesting to hear the practical concerns of snow, because I absolutely loathe scraping snow off my car here. It is one of my pet peeves, and I certainly hope that you don't have to partake in that, because it is not enjoyable by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, I have to shovel snow now from like my apartment's entry, so that's a first, and I'm not liking that either.
I mean, you gotta put on your headphones, put on like a good podcast, listen to some GradCast, and just do your thing. It's kind of almost relaxing. It's like cutting the grass.
Unless you pull a muscle, and then it's not fun. That's not a good time.
It's crazy how many injuries there are every year from people shoveling snow in Canada. Like, it is crazy amounts. Canadian problems.
Yeah. Hashtag Canadian problems.
Well, we'll have to get that trending once this episode airs. Now, Karina, I know you said you had mentioned you'd studied English in Canada previously. Where in Canada were you based?
I was in Victoria for a month, just myself and my sister, but it was like a group from Mexico, so it wasn't that bad.
What can you tell us about Mexico? Like, if I was to go visit as soon as COVID's done, where would you recommend to go, and what would you recommend to do?
Well, I'm from a city that's not that well known. Most people would go to Cancun and stuff like that. So if you like the tropics and that, I recommend going to the south of Mexico, where you have like really pretty beaches and stuff. If you're not into being hot, maybe the north part is where it's colder. Well, some places, some other places, the ones near Texas are horrible too. But
are they similar to Texas? If you go up there, like, is there a lot of similarities?
Like the heat, I don't know if you've been to Texas and how hot it gets over there. It's kind of like that, all that, like the border of Mexico and the United States is really hot. But I think the south and center of Mexico are the places to be right now, especially with everything that happens over there. And to do it's I don't want to sound that's dangerous, but I would recommend just stay on the touristic sites and stuff, not going beyond that.
Yeah, so you recommend like doing like the week-long all-inclusive trips, like not really like doing your own traveling if you go?
Yes. I mean, I don't recommend, like, if you are really foreigner looking, going away from those places.
It's good to know.
Yeah.
I feel like it's probably very similar. Like if you go to like Cuba or like Dominican too, like it's the same type of thing. Just like don't be stupid and stay in your resort.
Yeah, well, it just depends. There are some cities where it's really nice and you wouldn't have problems, and other cities where I wouldn't even recommend you go visit.
It's almost upsetting to hear that, how there could be so much, I guess, variation between cities and its safety. How have you felt in Canada, relatively speaking? Have you felt safe?
Yes. I've actually talked to Rhys about this. Here, I'm like my relaxed self. So even if I go downtown where it's kind of sketchy sometimes, I still feel safe. even with like that. Because over there, it's like you have to be on survival mode most of the time, just so you're safe and you know your surroundings and everything. So here, it's kind of nice not having to worry like outside.
So I don't know if you want to go into it, but like, what's the scariest, like, sketchiest thing that's ever happened to you when you were living in Mexico?
Well, a lot.
It's okay if you don't want to talk about it, but
No, it just like personally, I'm really lucky that I haven't experienced something so close, but it's gonna sound bad, but like near my house, some friends after leaving my house, they would like robbed, like with the weapons and stuff. Some people have died near my house from cartel related stuff. So it's there and you hear about it, but I've been lucky that it's happened near my house and near stuff that I'm close to, but I wasn't there at the time.
yeah. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things like that in Canada too, but I think it's more just like the rate of the things that are happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go east of Adelaide and you find all of that kind of stuff over there, but down in the western bubble, it's fairly safe for sure. Do you, besides feeling safe in London, what's your favorite thing to do in London?
I'm kind of like a nerd in a way that I'm always from my house to school and then back, and I haven't really done anything really.
I mean, a year of your life has been taken over by COVID, so I don't blame you.
Yeah, and even before like the first semester that I was here, which was like last year, I would still do the same. So it hasn't really changed that much.
You're a home soul, or what's the wording for that?
A homebody?
A
Homebody.
homebody, yes.
Yeah, and
Thank you,
there's
Liam.
no worries, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Now, speaking of home, this provides an excellent segue. What do you miss most about Mexico?
Well, besides, I guess, my family, I would think food.
Mm.
I usually when I go over there, I eat everything that I missed and then gain a few pounds and then come back and miss them again. But I think besides my family would be food.
Just tell us more about the food. What's good about it? What do you eat?
Well, there's a dish that I'm really fond of, which is basically like pork. It's when you fry like pork, there's like meat that stays behind at the bottom of the pot, right? What they do is they take that and they compress it. So it's kind of like a sausage type of thing. And they do it with sauce, like chili and stuff. And you can eat it like by itself, or you can make tacos or quesadillas, a lot of stuff. And I think that's the dish that I miss the most.
What is that called? I need to write this down.
Well, it depends on the part of Mexico you're from, but from my state, you call it yesca.
How do you spell that?
It's YESCA.
Perfect. Yes.
I'm gonna interject because Karina made me bread. This delicious, sweet, like sugary, lemony bread. And it was chef's kiss. It was delicious. I ate 2 of these buns in one sitting. It was so good.
What about drinks? What kind of drinks? Do you miss any, like, I don't know, alcohol, juices?
Well, I'm much of a water person, so I do drink a lot of tequila. I'm that Mexican. We like tequila. So also another thing that I missed is another type of mezcal. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. it's kind of like tequila, but it's well, I'm not really knowledgeable about it, but what I think it is that you can only make tequila in one part of Mexico, and if you make the same alcohol elsewhere, you can't really call it tequila, so you call it mezcal. But
It's like champagne.
Yeah.
Cool. Have you been to Los Lobos here in London?
Yes, only once with Rhys.
What are your thoughts about that in comparison to real Mexican food?
And you can be honest, just because I'm not on this interview. If you didn't like it, that's fine.
Well, it's expensive for just one taco. For that amount of money, you would buy 5 over there, and like better tasting tacos. I guess it's like how Canadians think of Mexican food instead of.
Are we close though? Like, are we closer than other other countries or other restaurants?
What I think it's more like Tex-Mex. It's like I think it's closer to that Tex-Mex things than Mexican food.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So Karina, then my question to you is, how do we authenticate the Mexican cuisine here? What makes it authentically Mexican, or what makes it authentic to the region you come from?
Make it cost less.
Yeah. Apart from perhaps the economical side of it.
Yeah. I think the preparation, it's like really different. I think they put a side to it so other people would like it too. We have some foods that wouldn't like be so tasty for other people if they like heard about them. So I think it's I guess the preparation, the type of chiles they use to the meat, and sometimes they do it really fancy. And it's like, well, over there we eat it like from this like street stores and stuff. So it would be nicer if it was simpler, I guess, and not fancy, but they put a lot of stuff so people are attracted to it.
Yeah, like unnecessarily like fancy. I feel like is the best word to describe this. I couldn't even think of anything better. But so you say a lot of like street food and stuff. So is that like just typical, like that's where you would normally go and have like lunch or dinner, or is it also like a lot of home meals that you guys would eat there?
Well, I don't really like eating out. I think the most delicious street food over there are tacos, obviously, and you can eat it everywhere. And it's mostly like a night thing that you would like have dinner in one of the street like places that I don't know how they're called in English. Yeah. But also home stuff is good. I really miss my mom's cooking. And we like everything on the go too, so we eat a lot on the street. Not so much restaurants and stuff.
Fast-paced life.
Yeah, and I guess it's sometimes better, like tastes better, and it's really cheap too.
I think the cost is something that comes up time and time again, right? This idea that the cost of living in Canada is so much more expensive than perhaps the cost of living of certain things in Mexico. Are there any other things that you've seen in Canada that are very expensive in comparison to Mexico?
Food. I think food is the most expensive thing here. Like fruit and veggies are really expensive here. So I think food-wise, everything's expensive. That's, I guess, what I complain the most. And what I'm grateful about Mexico is that everything, like food-wise, is cheap over there because we're the ones growing it. So it's like local.
Yeah, and if you try to get local food here, it's even more expensive. It's just undoable. Like, I think literally the only other countries that have more expensive food than Canada is like Scandinavian countries. So like Sweden, like Finland, Switzerland, like the only other places that probably have food that's more expensive than here. I don't even know why it's so expensive.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think that's the biggest difference too, that if you buy local over there, it's super cheap. Uh, but if you like buy imported things, it's like the expensive, which here is the other way around.
mhm.
Yeah, even going to the market in the summertime, like there's so many. The problem with living in Canada and our climate, especially in London here, like there's nothing. We don't have proper growing conditions. So if we wanted like citrus or like green onions or like everything else, it's extremely seasonal. Like fruit, like plums and peaches and cherries and all that kind of stuff. All that stuff is great, but it comes early or it comes late in the season. But if you want a peach in February, then you're going to be paying like $20 a pound for a stupid peach.
Yeah.
You know?
Doesn't even taste good because it's just been sitting out for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how long are you in Canada for?
Uh, I didn't understand that, but
Yeah, sorry. How long are you staying at Western? And like, when are you supposed to be going back to Mexico?
well, I finished my master's next year, and after that, it's kind of like an unknown. I don't know if I want to apply to that postgraduate permit, like work permit, or if I want to go back and try to find a job over there. It's like it just depends how next year is with all this pandemic stuff and how the economy might not be that great.
Yeah, no, for sure. Do you see yourself working in Canada in the future, or you think you want to go back to Mexico and like that's where you want to like live the rest of your life?
I I like traveling and living different places. So I don't see myself like just settling in Mexico anytime soon. Um, so maybe I would like to work here and maybe somewhere else too, or study a PhD somewhere else too. So it just I don't know. I don't think I'll settle down for now.
Yeah,
That's
good call.
that's completely understandable. What other places have you considered living in?
Um, well, I would really like to study in Japan. I've been there like living for 3 months, and I really like the universities over there. So that's a goal that I don't know if I'll be able to accomplish, but that would be nice. Or some place in Europe too would be nice, just to work or study.
As soon as you said Japan, my eyes just lit up. That's like one of my dreams to go there. I've never been, but would love to go do some skiing there and have some good sushi.
Oh,
Yes.
the
Dreams.
for sure. Fresh from the ocean. It's literally right there. Oh, I bet it'd be so good. And obviously the tsunamis because, that's a
Right. Is that a big place that like they study a lot of tsunami research there?
Yes. Well, my supervisor is from Japan, so he got, I guess, his inspiration from home, and he works with a lot of people from there, so it's a good place to be. I've talked to him about it, and he agrees with that.
No, that's it's very interesting. I really don't know much about Japan, but I mean, you guys have listed all of the wonderful qualities that the country provides to the rest of the world. Now, Karina, we have a couple of minutes left, and we normally like to leave time for any advice that you'd like to give potential international students in, their transition to living in Canada.
Advice, I think the most important thing is to remember why you or while you are away from home. I think sometimes we forget that this is kind of like a privilege, and also really we worked hard to be here, and being by ourselves can sometimes make us not see that and kind of wish we weren't here. But to remember that, also to keep your family close, because I think when you first come here, especially if you come here by yourself, you don't know people and you're on your own, so that would be a good support system to have. And know people here, I think that too, you can't really be by yourself and it'll be horrible. So yeah.
Well, that's great advice. I always find that I've studied like abroad before, and definitely the first like month or so is always the hardest because you're figuring out the time difference, like when the best times to contact your family, and you're still trying to find friends. Like that is great advice to always just keep that in mind, the reason why you're there. Yeah.
And you know, the sense of community that people find amongst their school is such an important part of being a part of that specific group. Have you had any trouble in contacting those that you're close with at the university due to the pandemic at all?
Well, not really. I'm really shy, so I don't really talk to a lot of people from the department other than Rhys and Risha. So we always message each other, but now it's hard to, especially if you live by yourself and you can't really go home right now. So it's hard sometimes not having that human contact for a long time.
Have you done anything, or maybe perhaps got something to help you with your lack of human contact? Maybe something that meows and is gray and is
Well, yeah, I adopted a cat that's sleeping all the way across the room, so she can't be here right now, but that's another support system to have.
Oh, that's awesome. Are you gonna take this cat back to Mexico with you?
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't think I'll leave her behind anywhere.
What's her name?
Bella.
Aw, that's so nice.
That is very sweet. And another recommendation for anyone going through a tough time, a furry companion can always help you out. Now, Karina, do you have any hopes and aspirations for once this pandemic is all done, what you'd really like to truly do?
I think go out. At this point, it's not, I'm not asking for much other than just go out and be able to go back home too.
Go out, have some shitty tequila here in Canada, and dance.
Well, I buy stuff from Mexico too, so.
That's right. But I feel like somehow all of our episodes, I mean, this is our second episode, somehow we always talk about tequila in every episode.
Yeah, it's true.
We have to keep this going.
It's the running joke. It's the running gag for sure. Yeah, so obviously your word of advice is drink tequila, have a furry friend, have friends around you, and remember why you started. That's awesome. That's great advice for sure.
Perfect way to wrap up.
Yeah, no kidding. And lastly, Karina, what tequila recommendation do you have for people in Ontario?
Well, my favorite, I haven't been able to find it. Its name is Tres Generaciones. I think that's like the best one. If you want like cheap tequila, Jose Cuervo, it's one. Or, well, I'm going to say in Spanish, but it's 1800.
And can you find that at the LCBO?
Yeah, it's 1800. Is that how you call it here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called 1800. So yeah, but you can find it here too.
All right. Good.
Excellent.
Write
Well,
that down.
yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Well, Karina, we just want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This has been the second episode of Global Grads. My hosts were Nikol Posnov, Rhys Paterson, and myself, Liam Clifford. We've been talking to Karina Martinez, a master's student in the Earth Science department here at Western from Mexico. Check it out. It's really cool. You can catch us on iTunes, Spotify, and Podbean, or wherever you get your podcast, and stay tuned for more. Have a good night.